Hello students. So today we continue with pronouns, part 2 of pronouns. We have already done part 1. 4 of the pronouns we had done before. We will do the remaining 4. But before we start the next 4, let us quickly revise what we have already done. Fine. So which are the pronouns that we have already covered? Yes, we have covered the personal pronouns, the relative pronouns, possessive pronouns, and interrogative pronouns. I hope you remember all of them, or otherwise you go back to the previous video and revise once again. Now when I'm speaking of possessive pronouns, I also taught you the difference between possessive pronouns and possessive adjectives. Yes, there is a confusion generally. So if you are still not sure of that, I would advise you to stop here and go back to the previous video and have a look. Fine, and then we can come back again to this video and we can continue. Now today we shall do pronouns, the remaining pronouns, the demonstrative pronouns, reflexive pronouns, emphatic pronouns, or also called the intense pronouns, and the indefinite pronouns. These are the 8 pronouns that you will have in your syllabus and which is also there in your book. So we will stick to only these. There might be a few more, but we are not going to go into those. Is that clear, students? Okay, so we begin with demonstrative pronouns. Now, demonstrative pronouns are one of the easiest pronouns because they are just 4 in number. This, that, these, those. So when we want to actually point at something, then we use the demonstrative pronouns. When we are very sure of what we are talking about, that in that case, we use the demonstrative pronouns. So they are used to identify one or a number of nouns. So therefore, it can be singular as well as plural. Which is singular, which is plural? I'm sure you are able to clearly identify. This and that are singular. These and those are plural demonstrative pronouns. So I have given you quite a few sentences for you to just have a look. So that is a beautiful house. That is a demonstrative pronoun that is referring to a specific house. This is a singular one. And this is what he is charging when you're talking about something right in front. So it is actually using as a quantifier by referring not only to the noun, but to the amount or the number of the noun as well, because it is singular in case. Fine. Then these were made by me. When you make a lot of cupcakes, when you say that I have made all these. So these is showing an unspecified quantity. You're not exactly telling us how many, but you're just pointing at certain cupcakes and you're telling that these have been made by you. Now everyone remembers those days. Which days? Childhood days or the days before Corona. Yes, before Corona, when we were in school, when we used to have a gala time in school, we miss those days, isn't it? So those is a demonstrative pronoun. I hope you're clear with it. Otherwise, you can listen to this once more and have a look at all these sentences which I have given. If it's also explained in your book, students. Okay. So we move on to the reflexive pronouns. Now, reflexive pronouns, just like the name suggests, as you can see, it is called a reflexive pronoun. These pronouns reflect back on the speaker or the subject or the doer of the action. Whoever is the subject, the pronoun reflects back on that person. So when the subject and object are actually the same person, we are actually talking about a reflexive pronoun. Let us look at an example. She blamed herself for the mistake. Now she blamed whom? Herself. And herself is actually the subject herself. So the subject and the object is actually the same. And a reflexive pronoun will always answer the question whom. This is a tip for you to understand and recognize reflexive pronouns. Now let me give you a list of these reflexive pronouns. In the first person, singular, we have myself. And in the plural, it will become ourselves. Second is yourself. Yourself becomes yourselves. Fine. And third person singular is himself, herself, itself, and they all become themselves. Is that clear? So reflexive pronouns will always answer the question whom. A few more examples to clarify this concept of reflexive pronouns. You'll have to get this very clear, students. I know you have done it in class 5, but you should understand reflexive pronouns very clearly. Otherwise, you will get confused with the next pronoun, which is the emphatic pronoun. So now let us go back to the reflexive pronouns. I told you reflexive pronouns are both the objects, actually the objects which also refer to the subject. Now they end in self or selves. Obviously, the boy kicked whom? Himself. She made for whom? Herself. She made herself coffee. You should address the letter to yourself. To whom? To yourself. So all these are reflecting back on the subject. Can you see the arrow again? That goes back to the subject. So this should clarify. Always remember, students, reflexive pronouns are always the object also of the subject. They are generally an object. We have done object. Remember? Direct object, indirect object. You have learned that. So reflexive pronouns are actually the object of a sentence, of the subject. Okay, I was just telling you that we have to be very, very clear about reflexive pronouns. Otherwise, we will get confused with the emphatic pronoun. Why? Because when the reflexive pronoun is used to emphasize a noun or a pronoun, they are known as emphatic pronouns. Now, if you go back to the previous one and you see that emphatic pronouns and reflexive pronouns, they are same. It is the same, myself. They also end with self. For example, see, Raman wrote the poem himself. I myself had to do it. In both the cases, they look like reflexive pronouns, but no, there is a catch. You will see that they are used to emphasize a noun or a pronoun. They are not used for reflecting back on the speaker. And it is not an object. If you see, the emphatic pronoun is never the object. For example, Raman wrote the poem. What is the object in this sentence? The object is the poem. It is not himself. Understood? So therefore, here you have to understand what is the role of this pronoun, the emphatic pronoun. It is actually emphasizing the poet, the person, the doer of the action. You're emphasizing that the poet wrote the poem himself. I myself had to do it. So it's emphasizing that I had to do it all by myself. Nobody helped me. So there may be two positions. Sometimes you may get confused that some people might tell you that emphatic pronouns will always be at just after the noun. Not always. They usually appear immediately after the noun or pronoun, as in the second sentence. I myself had to do it. But don't get misled by that. Understand the work of an emphatic pronoun. What does it do? It emphasizes the noun or the pronoun. Raman wrote the poem himself. I myself had to do it. In both these cases, it is emphasizing the fact that the subject or the doer has done the work without any help. When we go on to the next one, we will understand it very, very clearly because I have spent a little time to make this difference very clear. And side by side, remember, reflexive pronouns are also ending with self or selves, but they are the object. But emphatic pronouns are not objects. Okay, shall we proceed? This is what I was just trying to tell you. When reflexive pronouns emphasize the fact that the subject or the doer has done something without any help, then it becomes an emphatic pronoun. Understand this very clearly. She wants to repair her computer herself. This is not a reflexive pronoun, though it is ending with self. Ravi baked the cake himself. He himself told me all his secrets. That is also emphatic. See, it may come after the noun, it may come at the end of the sentence. Don't go by that. just see whether it is an object of the subject. If the object, if the self pronoun is an object of the subject, then it is a reflexive pronoun. Otherwise, it is an emphatic pronoun when it is actually emphasizing that the subject has done the work all by himself. The children completed their homework themselves. The little girl herself took care of her sick mother. So in all these cases, they are all doing the work by themselves, and we are emphasizing on that. Is that clear, students? Very, very clear? Please understand this very clearly, because you might have to differentiate between reflexive and emphatic pronouns. Fine? Now we move on to another pronoun which many of you sometimes get confused with, and that is called the indefinite pronoun. See, indefinite is something opposite to the demonstrative pronoun. We have done the demonstrative pronouns. In the demonstrative pronouns, we have seen when we know about something specific, when we are pointing at someone and we are or at something, then we use the demonstrative pronoun. But in the case of an indefinite pronoun, we don't know or we are not sure about the identity of an object or a person we are talking about. In that case, we use the indefinite pronouns to refer to them. For example, we use it to refer to persons or thing in general. Generally when we speak, then we use this than when we are referring to a specific person or thing. When we are referring to a specific person or thing, we know we are using the demonstrative pronoun. You're right. So now let us look at some examples. Everybody knows that she is a wonderful singer. Everybody knows. No one specific. It's an open secret. Shreya Ghoshal is a wonderful singer, isn't it? Fine. Someone told me that tomorrow is a holiday. Someone. Now, who is that someone? We don't know. Sometimes we do this. We want to spread a rumor and we just say, someone told me tomorrow is a holiday. So everybody starts thinking. We don't know. We don't know whom to catch. So then when you hear such rumors, you say, who told you? Tell me, identify. Yes. So we use these indefinite pronouns much to our convenience when we don't know or when we don't want to disclose or when we want to be naughty. Yes? Fine. Or sometimes when we don't want to disclose also, maybe we know, okay, we don't want to tell anybody. For example, somebody has taken away the pen, okay, your friend's pen, but you don't want to disclose it to the teacher. The teacher says, who has taken it? And someone took it away. Someone took it away. So someone told me that tomorrow is a holiday. Fine. But here, in many cases, sometimes students, you use anyone. It should not be so. Okay. Someone, somebody, one person. When you refer to one person, it is someone. And everybody is, when we want to refer to a lot of people, then we say everybody. And when we want to say a negative sentence, nobody. Nobody knows when we shall be able to resume going to school again. Yes, that is the greatest tragedy of our lives at the present point. We don't know when we shall be able to resume going to school again. So nobody knows that. So that is an indefinite pronoun. All these three are indefinite pronouns. Have you got it, students? So we come to the end of the video. Types of pronouns are done. We have done all kinds of pronouns. We have done right from the beginning. Let us quickly revise the different types of pronouns. First thing first, pronouns replace nouns. Yes, in a sentence. And why do we do that? To make it less repetitive and less awkward. All the time repeating the same noun again and again and again. It makes it very repetitive, boring. Fine. So we use pronouns. Now, what are the different types of pronouns? Personal pronouns. I've got all the cases for you. The I, we, you, they, he, she, me, us, you. Fine. And then demonstrative pronouns. This, that, these, those. Exactly 4 of them. Fine. You'll never go wrong in that. Then we come down there, indefinite. After demonstrative, let us go to indefinite. Used to show unspecified objects of people, whether plural or singular. Sometimes we say somebody, anyone, nowhere. Sometimes we also say few, many, nothing. All these are also indefinite pronouns. Few books. We don't know how many. We say few books. Interrogative pronouns, when we ask questions about a person or object that we do not know about. Who, whom, which, what, whoever, whichever, whose. All these are interrogative pronouns. Relative pronouns, used to join or relate two different clauses together, two different ideas together. Clauses you may not understand, two different sentences together, two different ideas together, by referring to the noun in the previous using the pronoun. So I know the person who came yesterday. I know the person, he came yesterday. So we use it. We use the word who to join. I know the person who came home yesterday. Reflexive and intensive, I've explained it to you, used to indicate a noun which has been used in an earlier part of the same sentence. And reflexive pronouns reflect back on the speaker, and emphatic or the intensive pronouns, they are actually emphasizing the fact that the subject has done the work all by himself or herself or themselves. Possessive pronouns, and remember we had also spoken about possessive adjectives and possessive pronouns. You need to be very clear with that. For example, my, your, his, her, its, our, your, their, all these are adjectives. But when we are using possessive pronouns, they are mine, yours, his, hers. They're generally ending with the word s other than mine. Okay, and they always come at the end of a sentence. This is mine. But when we say adjective, remember I had taught you how to interchange between noun to adjective. We use my before the adjective. My book, your book, his book. But here we say this book is his. This is a pronoun. But when I say his book, then that is an possessive adjective. This is ours and this is theirs. This is yours. Yours lovingly. When we write at the end of a letter, that is a possessive pronoun, and that is why we don't put the apostrophe, because it is already in the possessive case. I hope you're clear, students, and let us hope that you have learned pronouns properly. Fine. Now I will give you an assignment. After this, listen carefully. So I'm going to give you some exercises to be done in the book itself. You don't have to do it in the notebook. Now, you will do it straight away in your book with a pencil. Fine. But before you attempt to do that, I would recommend you go through the video once more. First one as well as the second one. Go through it once more before you do it. Your work assignment after this video is to do exercise D. D for Delhi and G for Gangtok. D and G. Exercise D and G in the book. You will do it in the book itself and you will be ready for the online class. We will discuss the answers in the class. Okay? So stay safe and stay happy. Okay? Bye bye.